And welcome in to the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz
Hello.
and Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor for Raider, who is off tonight. It is November 3rd, 2025. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. You can support us for $247, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. So we're doing remote recording again. I think we may be able to return to our mics next week, but I cannot confirm that at the moment. But the moment I know that we can return to our mics, I will. I'll post about it on the Patreon, and all that stuff. But for now, we're just going to stay with doing quick and dirty on the on via Discord, because that's just the best and easiest option for now. If you go to our Patreon page, there is a free post. I wrote a little bit about Battlefield 6's Season 1 update, which has had some mixed reactions for a few different reasons, and I'll talk about. And I talk about specifically with regards to character skins. I talk a little bit about that, and I'll talk about my thoughts on Season 1 and the Battle Royale mode and stuff here in a second. But yeah, next week, I'm not sure what I'll write about next week, but I will have an update on the current project that I'm working on, as I've made lots of progress, and hopefully I should be close to starting a script. But yeah, just follow us on Patreon, and I'll be updating about that this Friday. Richard, how you
Yeah,
doing? How you doing?
doing good. Doing good,
Good.
man.
What?
Just what are you gonna ask? What are you
No,
gonna interrupt me and ask about?
I was cutting my question. You know how I ask questions? I always ask three questions
Yeah,
in one question. It's a bad habit. I'm sorry.
yeah. It's 3 questions. I only have to pay attention to the last one.
Exactly.
So yeah. Of course, the question is always what have we been playing? And
Sure.
I took a chance because it was free. I was like, hey, I'll try Red Sec. Is it the Red Sec mode for Battlefield 6?
That's
Is that what
correct.
it's called?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Red
Yeah.
Sec. So yeah, I played that and I played one full match, and I think by the end of it, I kind of I pulled that Arrested Development quote, and it's just I don't know what I expected because it is of course very much Battlefield style, but in the essence of just simply a battle royale. So there's not really much, and I only played one match, and I understand it's probably unfair to give this opinion on it, but honestly, like it was just plain and simply a battle royale. Um, and so by the end of it, I kind of was just like, alrighty, like I don't need to play any more of this because I already know what I'm going to get. I'd rather just play Battlefield 6 whenever I'm able to get that. But in the meantime of playing Battlefield 6, in the last week, I have become absolutely obsessed with Arc Raiders. Um,
Nice.
a
Okay.
game that I have, heard about in the last year, but never really paid attention to until I had my own friends who I'm not going to say they're casual gamers, but the name Arc Raiders have come out of their mouths like a couple times in the last like couple months. So about like a day or two before it came out, I took like some videos just because I just never like looked into it, and I decided I liked the way it looked. I liked the price point, so I decided to jump in. And oh my gosh, I have completely become enthralled with the game. It's from Embark Studios, who are the same guys that did The Finals, which is also another game that I very much enjoy. And this is a PvPvE extractor shooter, and the it takes place in basically an Earth that has been taken over by machines that they call arcs, and everybody has kind of been forced underground. And so you, as a raider, go up to the surface in certain areas, and you scavenge what you can to bring back down underneath the Earth. And you have essentially 30 minutes to jump into a map and scavenge as much as you can to take back to the underground. And what drew me to Arc Raiders particularly, and I didn't think that I would be into an extraction shooter of sorts because, Division was a big one. and they have their extraction areas, which I didn't necessarily jive with. So I didn't think I would be into it. However, this has kind of given me a surge of interest because the game kind of gives me what I have been missing in like the multiplayer landscape, and it is camaraderie to an extent. And the feel of the gameplay. And the feel of the gameplay is exactly what I wanted from the newest Last of Us, if they ever completed it. And I don't know if you've ever played the Last of Us multiplayer at all. Tyler, have you?
A long time ago, I played
Okay.
maybe a couple I remember thinking it was cool, and I remember
Yeah.
liking it, but I didn't get into it as like a thing that I did consistently. No.
And that's okay. I got into it a bit, but the what I enjoyed particularly about The Last of Us multiplayer was that your character from a control standpoint felt he had some weight to him. So he was like heavy in a sense, or your character was heavy in a sense. So your moves had to be somewhat deliberate as far as like your controls and what you needed to do, and your quick thinking on the fly to craft things in the middle of a match. Um, that kind of gameplay has been taken from Embark and like kind of injected into Arc Raiders. So when you're out and about, you have certain areas of the map that are labeled either yellow or red, indicating that the loot in those areas are really good or, really, really good. But of course, the danger goes up depending on what you search for. And along with the danger from the arcs specifically, there's different types of machines that can search for you and attack you on site. You do kind of have to worry about other people as well. But the thing that is interesting about Arc Raiders is that the a large majority of the community has kind of already decided that no, the Arcs are the enemies of us, not each other. So so people when you encounter each other like actual live players, there's quick hesitation and then there's proximity chat. So everybody's kind of talking to each other now, like, "Hey, are you gonna shoot me? No, I'm just here looting. Like, don't worry about it." And then of course you have those guys who are quick on the draw and will just start shooting you immediately. In which case, of course, you have no choice. Um, but it's the first time in a very long time that I have decided to actually start talking to randoms online because I have not done that since Modern Warfare 2. So so this game has brought a lot out of me in the multiplayer lands, in the multiplayer like essence. And Arc Raiders itself is oozing with retro futuristic style. So a lot of the technology is very analog, and a lot of the suits are very like old '60s astronaut style, like
That's cool. Yeah, I can see
yeah,
it from some of
visuals.
the screenshots. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's some of the coolest like visual stylings I've seen, and the UI is really slick. Has a very the text is very '70s based. It has those instead of sharp flat corners, it's kind of rounded off and certain letters and whatnot. The traders that you encounter that you have to so back at base. There's other traders that you can speak with, and they'll deal with certain things. Like one has parts, one has explosives, one has guns, one has, you know, um, kits to help you out in the overworld. And you can talk to them, and they give you quests. And they're all a very colorful group of people. You have kind of like the med person. He's a android esque type person, so he kind of looks like a mannequin, but he's dressed up and he looks cool. And then you have others who like there's one who's just sitting at a control panel and she's just constantly watching TVs and like kind of hitting buttons, and she'll turn to you every now and again to like talk to you. They're very colorful and they're very cool so far, and they give you bits of lore to the world, which is already interesting. And I can't tell you much about it because they do something that I like is they kind of they show not tell, but it's enough to keep you asking questions and not get enough information
Oh,
from.
okay, nice.
when you unlock, there's 5 open world areas to explore, with more coming. But when you unlock each one, because you can only start out at the dam and then it'll unlock other areas as you level up, every time it unlocks a new area, they give you this really slick exposition cutscene to where it just shows you areas of the locale, and they'll change camera angles and stuff like that. But whoever is narrating at the time, I think it's one of the traders every time, they have this kind of monologue that they give you, and it's really cool monologue because it kind of borderlines on the edge of documentary style presentation, as far as their audio goes, but also like storytelling, kind of like this, the kind of telling you how the world was as far as they knew, but the way they're telling it is very engaging, and that's kind of drawing me into it lends itself very well with the retro futuristic style and kind of like the doom and gloom of what's happening in the world right now, or well, in the world, for Arc Raiders. They're oh, not microtransit, but it's a $40 game, but of course there's like battle passes. I don't want to call them battle passes. They call them decks, but they are very Hell Divers 2 esque. So you get the first deck for free, and anything that is paid for in the game, you just get naturally as you complete objectives and as you complete quests that you're given throughout, like, every day. So you will get 2 different types of currency, but everything so far seems to be accessible just through plain and simple gameplay.
Huh, okay.
So that's nice to know as well. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it. It's very engaging, and I keep thinking about it. But it's also getting compared to Tarkov, and I never played Tarkov. I thought Tarkov was just a battle royale game, but apparently it's an extraction shooter.
Yeah, it's Extraction. Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people are calling it, and I don't know if it's kind of a backhanded compliment, but basically it's the everyday man's Tarkov, is what I've
Interesting.
heard
Okay.
people say. So it is a lot. It's for those who don't have time, who have a job. Arc Raiders is Tarkov for people with jobs. But overall, yeah, I've become quite addicted to it, and honestly, like, after the podcast, I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I think I'll probably pick it up eventually as well because it does look really cool. And
Mhm.
but getting into an extraction shooter is just tough for me because that can be so intense. So I kind of have to like. It sounds like it's not super, like, it's still an extraction shooter, but it sounds like there's some player friendliness there that maybe
Yeah,
other ones don't have, which is neat. So yeah.
you can go solo. I've completed plenty of missions solo with not too much trouble. Most of my matches have had friendly folks in there where you just kind of like pass each other and you go hi bye, and because you kind of already don't. If no one's shooting, then you're cool.
Mm,
But I have had instances to
gotcha.
very soon after dropping in, like, just some random guy will start shooting me from across the map, or someone will, after looting a big robot, someone will just like take my crap. So it doesn't happen often, but of course that you do have those
Sure.
instances.
Yeah. Alrighty. So let's see. So I've been playing more Battlefield 6. I've been playing more Ghost of Yodi. Ghost of Yodi, I'm still enjoying it a lot. Still chipping away at it. Don't have a ton more to add. Battlefield 6, I am still enjoying. I did not like. So I think RedSec is actually a pretty bog standard and bad battle royale. Just because I've heard that it's basically a recreation of Warzone. I never played Warzone that much, but from what I've played, it already looks like Warzone. But it also just lacks a lot of the tension and a lot of the intensity of battle royales. Specifically games like PUBG, because PUBG, you all jumped out of the same airplane. So as soon as the game started, you saw the direction the airplane was going, and from there you could extrapolate once people jump out, here are the places they are going to go. Because even if they glide maximum glide distance, they're only going to reach so far. So you could kind of make a plan as to how you were going to either avoid or chase after players as soon as the game started. And at the same time, there was also places with different qualities in PUBG. Like the military base had lots of weapons, apartment buildings had weapons and ammo and stuff like that. Other places didn't have very good drop rates for things like that. And there was like different aspects to the map, like islands that you could sneak onto in a specific way, or I don't know, mountain ridges that you could like get up to in a specific way. So the map had all these little tiny details to it that made all that planning and stuff like that a lot of fun. A lot of it came down to luck. You may not find an AK, you may just find a Uzi, and then you'd get killed by a guy who found an AK. And the circle was really big, games could last a while. RedSec is just, I don't know, it's fine, but the circle moves really slowly, so you can run with the circle behind you and be fine if you stop while looting or something like that. Also, loot is everywhere, so chances are you're going to find like a decent gun. And because it's Battlefield, everybody's finding automatic weapons, so it just turns into like it just turns into an FPS. It doesn't lean on any of Battlefield's strengths. Like, yes, there's vehicles and destructible environments and stuff like that, but it's all set within the context of just a battle royale shooter, which is not Battlefield. So I don't know. What frustrates me is that it is leaning away from Battlefield's strengths, which are open combat on giant maps with a variety of things: tanks, airplanes, helicopters, what have you. Meanwhile, you have classes. Now, there are classes in RedSec. You can play as the engineer or the medic or whatever, and you do specific things, like you can drop your ammo bag as medic. The engineer, with the engineer's torch, you can use to unlock safes, which may have weapons and rocket launchers in them. And then, obviously, if you get a vehicle, the engineer can heal it. But still, just the context of it being a battle royale just sort of removes that need to like work as a team and stuff. It feels much more generic than Battlefield does, and so it frustrates me because nobody plays Battlefield to play Call of Duty, but people will play RedSec to play Call of Duty. I don't know if that makes sense.
Because that makes absolutely perfect sense.
Because it's just not Battlefield, and so it frustrates me because now, I don't know, because it's like, what does EA want Battlefield to be? They have this portal thing, they have this RedSec mode, they have Battlefield itself, so it's trying to be all these different things instead of just being Battlefield, which it is best at. The other thing that's frustrating is the map for RedSec is awesome. There are so many cool buildings and environmental details, and you could literally cut chunks of this map. You could just cut up 4 chunks of this map and put barriers around it, throw a couple objectives, and you would have badass conquest maps. Just awesome conquest maps. But they haven't done that. Instead, the map is there just for this incredibly basic battle royale mode. And meanwhile, Battlefield's core modes like Conquest, the main problem with it is that the maps aren't very good. The maps are fine. There's not a good it's missing the big maps. If there were like 3 or 4 big maps for Battlefield, or even 2 more big maps for Battlefield 6, I think the smaller maps would be more tolerable. But those don't exist, so you're left with what is mostly small maps, which Battlefield is still good with small maps, but again, it doesn't leverage the strengths of Battlefield. It feels closer to Call of Duty at that point, which is still fun, but it's not Battlefield. So that's really disappointing, because while I'm running across the RedSec map, it's just every 5 minutes I'm just like, why couldn't they make it? Like, is it not within their power to just cut a couple chunks of this map out and use them for Conquest? Like, I understand it's more complicated than that. Game development's not easy, but it's just like, I don't know. It's really disappointing that, and this map is fundamentally different. Like it's there are insanely dense buildings and streets, and there is an office building that it's hard to describe, but like it has like 2 or 3 floors, and instead of the floor being like an entire floor, it's just made of like individual offices and catwalks. So it's like a famous, or it's like a really fancy like weapons research office, right? So it's got these like nice decorative catwalks with like railings on them that are made of glass. And every time I run in there, I'm just like, how awesome would it be if there was an objective in here to capture for conquest, and you had enemies above you or below you, and you could blow up the bridges, and I mean, how awesome would all that be? It'd be awesome.
Is,
But
is
instead, but instead, it's just used for this battle royale mode where you may not even get into the like you may get into that building for a quick firefight and that's it. Instead of it being a sustained thing in Battlefield. Sorry, go ahead.
that's all right. Did is Battlefield 6 64 player, or is it 32?
Good question. I want to say it's 64
Because
because
I think 64 was the threshold last generation. Yeah, I mean, like, conquest, like, you're allowed to have smaller conquest maps,
yeah,
just half
sure,
the
yeah.
amount of people that you can put in the map. Go back to 32 players instead of 64. And that's something that I guess maybe I was trying to shy away from when I was talking about Red Stick. But yeah, like, when I finished my one and only match, it was, yeah, I was like, okay, that was a battle royale, like, just plain and simply. There was nothing different about it. There was nothing that made me go, I want to keep playing this, because yeah, it is pretty much exactly like Call of Duty's Warzone mode. And sure, yes, I did see guys like rolling around in tanks and whatnot, but if you don't, if there's not, I guess Battlefield's multiplayer matches, the conquest matches, kind of thrive on the fact that, like, there could be a tank that's rolling around the map just decimating everybody, and one engineer can make or break, the tank rolling around. But the
Hmm.
problem is, it has to be like a line of ants, because one engineer that runs up to a tank is probably going to get taken out. So you have to rely on the
Yes,
second guy
yeah.
right after, or the second guy right after. In RedSec, you're one and done, and that's it. And a tank can possibly, like, steamroll the entire match. And what's fun in that?
Yeah,
I understand.
it
I understand
can.
the idea is to be number one in I
Yeah.
keep wanting to say Warzone, in the battle royale, but it's not fun when it's just winning by the best, biggest means.
The way that they curb vehicles is that you have to get a key for these vehicle truck things that like hold the vehicles in them, and then when you
Okay,
when
okay.
you unlock it, an alarm goes off, so everybody in your area
Nose, got it.
knows that you're unlocking a vehicle. So it brings a lot of attention on you, and vehicles are loud. So if anyone
Mm,
with a rocket is around, they're going to go after you because it's loud and the map is wide open with lots of places to hide and stuff like that. So that's how they curb it. But yes, you are correct in that, like, the vehicle goes from like a tactical thing that you use in a specific way to just, okay, now kill players with this to but so yeah, I was gonna mention, oh, the other thing that I don't like is that players drop out of multiple helicopters in RedSec. So instead of one airplane that's flying straight across, there are helicopters that are like in a line, and multiple players are dropping out of each one, which means the distribution of players on the map is way more spread out at the beginning than it is in something like, or at least at years ago than it was in PUBG. And I don't like that because instead of you being able to take your time and plan things, you're gonna meet enemies because players are everywhere. So it's like you can say, "Hey, why don't we go up this mountain?" or "Why don't we check these buildings first?" Like instead of planning out your match like you could do in PUBG, it's just find a weapon because you're gonna run into people and it's just gonna become COD in here in a second because players are everywhere. And while the circle moves slowly, the circle itself, the matches end fairly quickly because of how like you can outrun the circle, but the circle is constantly moving, as opposed to something like PUBG where the circle goes like from big to smaller, and then it stays there for a few minutes, and then smaller to even smaller, right? It like jumps. In RedSec, it like consistently gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't think it may stop, but not for very long. So it feels like the game is made to have matches that go quickly instead of matches where you can really take your time and think about your strategies. And that's too bad because I prefer PUBG. I think PUBG was more tactically satisfying. You could outsmart players. So yeah, if all I did was, loot a shotgun and then hide, and I was smart about it, I could win the match if I played it better than the guy who got 12 kills at the military base and found an AK. Because I was more patient and I hid and stuff. So yeah, so it's fine, but it's just not Battlefield. I think it's pretty generic. And yeah, the map thing is the thing that bothers me the most because that is the one thing that's holding back the multiplayer right now. Is the maps really are not that great, especially for modes like Breakthrough, which in like Battlefield 1, Breakthrough was awesome. I think it was called Operations then, but those maps were really wide. They were really wide. In Battlefield 6, sorry, I think I said 5 earlier. In Battlefield 6, Breakthrough is on these skinny maps, so it's just a meat grinder. It is just meat grinder central, and that's fine for a map or two, but it's almost all of the breakthrough maps, which again is, I don't know, it takes away from that you being able to work with your squad and find a creative way to get past enemy lines because it's just a massive firefight with grenades and rockets and vehicles and bombs and C4 and dudes everywhere and medics picking everyone up, and it works, like it's intense, but when every map is like that, it's just not very, I don't know, you kind of miss that more wide open breakthrough mode. So yeah. So that's my major disappointment with RedSec is that, and I think a separate team developed it. I don't know if it was made by the same team that did like the multiplayer, but it really does feel like it really does make the Battlefield 6 feel neglected because the maps are just too small, and the map in RedSec just has so many details that are just so much more awesome. So, yeah. Okay, is there anything else we would like to talk about before we move on here?
Just real quick to go back to gush about Arc Raiders. The game is gorgeous due to its art style, which is really really nice, and it also runs really well. I haven't noticed anything like the game runs really well while also looking pretty dang good. So just wanted to gush about that a little more.
I did see that. So yeah. Okay. We don't have music like last week and the week before. So instead, go to our Patreon, go to youtube.com/gaming discourse, and 247 $10, and hopefully next week we'll have the music back up. On to the news. Amazon has cut its games division. This is a part of massive layoffs, eliminating more than 14,000 corporate jobs. Jason Schreier at Bloomberg reported that in a memo, Amazon didn't specify how many jobs would be cut at the games division specifically, only that significant role reductions would fall on its offices in Irvine and San Diego, as well as its central publishing division. Amazon will also cut back on the work it does on big budget titles, particularly MMOs. I'm going to read straight from Schreier's story here, quote, "In recent months, the company has doubled down on Luna, the cloud gaming service. The company's Montreal studio will continue development of the strategy game March of Giants. Amazon will continue to release casual and AI-focused games for the cloud service, according to the memo. The San Francisco-based external studio Crystal Dynamics is still working on a new Tomb Raider game, and UK-based Maverick Games continues to work on a racing title. Amazon has been trying to crack the video game industry for more than a decade, but has struggled to make a dent despite a few hits such as Lost Ark, a Korean game the company published in Western markets. With the cutbacks, the company is moving away from online games such as New World, which reached more than 900,000 concurrent players on the PC platform Steam following its release in 2021. Amazon had also been working on an MMO based on The Lord of the Rings. The latest update to New World will be the game's last, and the servers are going to continue through 2026. I think after that they will be shutting down though, if I remember correctly. I will go to New World's Steam page real quick to make sure. Okay, yeah. What do you think of this? What do you make of this? I don't think this is too surprising, but it does make my eyes roll to a substantial degree. Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think?
we we always talked about what Amazon was doing ever since they entered into it because it was New World their first foray into gaming. I can't recall.
I think it was their first big one. It came out September
Yeah,
28th, 2021. So
yeah.
I'm gonna assume that they may have had like a smaller game before that, but not. I don't think. I think it was the. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes that it was
But
their first game. Sure.
but yeah, after I know nowadays it takes so long to make a game, but of course they have and they've shown they have had enough money to throw around um, unceremoniously, and so to have three titles under your belt in a span of 4 years, 4+ years, um, is not a good look, especially when one of them was a game that was already created for the Korean market, Lost Ark, and just simply published by them here in the States. That was something that they could have focused on a little more, is getting more games onto their platforms. On top of that, they also had just a really bad service to tie in with Prime and not Prime, I'm sorry, Twitch, which the biggest streaming service for video games, and they found out how to do absolutely nothing with it. There was no like, let's say someone is playing Arc Raiders, and during their stream, like if there's a pop up that could be like, hey, are you interested in buying Arc Raiders? You could buy it right now, and it could lead to their storefront or whatever, either Amazon or their other app. I don't even know what their app is called for PC games, which
Yeah,
is
I
another
don't
thing. They
remember.
they they give away like 5 to 10 PC games a month if you have Amazon Prime, but no one cares because you got to have another operating system, much like Steam or Epic Games, and not a lot of people want to do that either. Um, but yeah, the writing was on the wall for a very long time, and what they were doing was I guess unsustainable, but like having video games only make so much money if you hit it big
Yes.
with a free to play title, and Amazon had none of that, and they didn't focus on creating any of that. Not that we wanted it, but video games are a money sink if you don't really love what you're doing. EA, Ubisoft, Activision to an extent, they're already big and they stay big because they have rooted themselves over the last 30, 40 years. Um, if Amazon can't just come in and drop a ton of money and expect to recoup that money or even make money because it already costs so much to do that in the first place, they can just make the money elsewhere.
Yeah, so to clarify, I just went to the FAQ real quick. One of the questions are you sunsetting the game? And it says no, not at this time. And then another question is, how long will I be able to play New World? It says, we will be able to provide details on what to expect in the coming months. We will provide a minimum of 6 months' notice before making any changes that impact your ability to play New World. So it looks like they haven't said that it's ending, but they say it's going to be live through 2026, and they haven't committed to anything else past that, so who knows. So yeah, I think the frustrating part for me is that Amazon definitely has the money to create a sustainable business. Amazon definitely has the money to publish games. Amazon definitely has the money to develop games, but it just seemed like they didn't take it seriously. I remember that story we read a few like maybe a year or two ago. I think Jason Schreier wrote, or maybe it was Cecilia D'Anastasio, I don't remember, about the executives that were brought in at Amazon and they had no idea what they were doing because they weren't video game people. They were just corpos. They were empty suits, a bag of water and a suit. And they thought they could fucking, like, I can tell these kids what to do, these nerds. And of course they crashed and burned because they don't, like, when, like, corporate executives, I was talking to somebody about this today. Corporate, and we'll talk about this with Satya Nadella here in a second, but this idea that gaming's biggest competitor is short form video it makes me just infuriated to a degree that is hard for me to overstate because it's just so stupid. And it's there's this idea that everything is competing with everybody else, but that's not how humans live. Yeah, there may be a person who goes throughout their day and they have to make a decision: am I going to play Battlefield 6 or am I going to play Arc Raiders or browse TikTok? But excuse me, but there's plenty of people that are just going to play Arc Raiders or Battlefield 6, excuse me. Browsing TikTok is not something that they do. So instead of figuring out how to, I'm going to repeat myself in 20 minutes when we talk about the Microsoft story, but instead of figuring out how to create this other hook in this other audience that has other interests and other hobbies, why not just capitalize on the audience that wants to play games and doesn't care about TikTok or Instagram or whatever, right? But no, that's not enough because we need growth, we need expansion. We can't have just pure sustainability. We have to have numbers going up. So yeah, but with regards to Amazon, it just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't take it seriously. They bought properties and kind of thought they bought things and thought it would fix things. So they bought Twitch, and it was like, okay, we bought it. Are you making us the gaming giant now? And it's like, well, no. What are you gonna do with us? Luna is another thing. Like they did this game streaming service, and it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with it? And we just don't hear about it. And then with the games that they put out there, I think New World people liked it. It's on mixed right now on Steam, but that's also getting bad reviews because people are angry that it looks like they're going to be cutting back development. But I don't know. It's just it's hard for me to understand if you had all these resources. Amazon is like one of the most powerful companies in the world, and you really couldn't figure out how to get, it's not easy to get a game studio going. I'm not saying that, but it's easier for somebody that has an infinite pool of money than it is for a couple dudes in their garage that are trying to sell an indie game on Steam. It's definitely easier for Amazon. So it's frustrating. And this reminds me a lot of Stadia, where it's like Google didn't really do gaming, and then they did Stadia, and it came across really presumptuous, and it came across really assuming their own success, and that didn't work out. And it was like, oh, okay. It reminds me of Netflix, right? When we hear people at Netflix talk about video games, it's just buzzword slop. Clearly they don't know what to say. They're just saying buzzword nonsense slop because it's not really something that they care about. It's just that they see it makes a shit ton of money, and so they're like, maybe we should try that. And so they put a few people on it. They put the executive nobody likes on it so they can get him out of the weekly staff meetings on Wednesdays and Thursdays and tell him to go do that thing while they work on the parts of the company that they actually are committed to and care about. Yeah, so it's frustrating, but whatever. There's still companies that take games seriously to a degree, I guess, and this makes me appreciate Steam even more because it seems like I don't know. We all have criticisms for Steam. I definitely have criticisms for Steam, but damn. When you look at how these other companies have completely fallen on their face when it comes to doing anything with video games, Steam has been running well for 20 years now, 20 goddamn years, and it's just they just keep getting better and better. They keep innovating. In the past 5 years, we got Steam Next Fest and the Steam Deck. Well, that was more than 5 years, but in the past few years, we've gotten the Steam Deck and the Steam Next Fest. Two more innovations right there that have changed the games industry, changed it, right? Handheld PCs and all of a sudden demos are back. Demos disappeared for 15 years, and then Steam brought them back. Uh, and that's the innovations that Steam brought, you know? So, I don't know. It would have been interesting if Amazon just went and did and was more of a publisher. Like, what if Amazon published, I don't know, a Remedy game? You know, like do the Max Payne games have a publisher yet? Amazon, call them up, be like, hey, well, Amazon Games will publish it. And
I think Rockstar would get mad at that.
oh yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I don't know who owns the rights there. But I don't know, fucking. They have so much money, like you couldn't. I can't think of a studio off the top of my head right now, but it's just like you can't even start a. And again, I'm not saying it's easy to start a publishing arm, but if you don't want to get into game development because it's too expensive to get for game development, you could definitely make money by being a publisher. Especially right now when it seems like nobody wants to publish games and people are afraid to give studios money because how volatile the market is. So yeah, if you're Amazon and you're just sitting on bundles of cash, why not expand there and compete there in an environment that is like asking for more and bigger companies to come in and claim a stake, you know? But whatever. There's not the willingness, there's not the dedication, and yeah, I know I'm gonna repeat a lot of this in a second, but I read a book on the history of LucasArts just like a couple weeks ago, as part of something that I'm researching, and I remember famously Jim Ward came in and made a lot of changes at LucasArts, and when Jim Ward came in the early 2000s, he was given a task of going through LucasArts and sort of making and doing an audit, figuring out where the company was, what the company was doing, and then coming up with like a test to see, okay, here's or a plan for the future. And one of the things that Jim Ward asked George Lucas was, do you want to be in the games business? Because that's the first thing you have to decide. Like, do you want to be in the games business? Because if you do, it ain't gonna be all roses and sunshine. Like, it's gonna take investment, you're gonna take hits, it's gonna take you doing some shit. But if you're committed to it, you can succeed, especially with all the money LucasArts had. And so it's like, if you're Amazon or Netflix, that's the first question you should ask yourself. Do you want to be in the games business? If it's then just stop. Just sell your development teams to somebody else and go back to doing whatever stupid bullshit you were doing before. Because if you're not committed to it and you're just hoping that you find a Call of Duty on accident, it's not going to happen. And even if it does, you're not going to be able to manage it. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, is there anything you would like to say
No,
about this?
but no, it is a shame though that like the eye on the prize isn't um it's proof that they're only in it for the money when they want to decide to only make games and not invest in them.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I mean invest, I don't mean spend $200 million on a Lord of the Rings MMO because you
Yeah.
want to see returns
Yeah.
on you want to see
Yes.
like consistent returns on that. It is what you say, become a publisher because there is plenty of this is a very bad example because I'm sure they have a really like good contract with Nintendo. But Game Freak, the guys who make Pokemon games, between Pokemon games, they have made several. They have made several other video games that you can get on Steam that are not from Nintendo. It's from them. So the guys who make Pokemon, like, what are they doing? Like, can't you ask, hey, like, you got a game for us? You got any ideas? We'll invest in it. You know, what others do?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the name. The guys who do No Man's Sky.
Oh,
Hello Games.
Hello Games. Yeah, yeah.
Hello Games. Like,
With
I
Lighting
don't
of
think,
Fire.
yeah, I don't think that Sony owns them.
No,
Why won't you invest in them?
something like
Once
that.
again,
Yeah,
yes, Remedy is another person who has always made incredible games, but
yeah.
unfortunately, financially, they don't see those returns, even though they should. They're probably some of the most deserving of it. But yeah, the to show us that you actually do care about video games and you want to be in this industry, you should probably put into it in other ways.
Yeah.
And that
Yep.
is either by investing in studio idea or other developer ideas, or maybe even purchasing developers. That's a lesser of the two options that I would want them to pursue. But yeah, we need to see the love in other ways rather than just injecting as much money as you can and hoping that
Into stupid ideas.
yes, and hoping that magically something comes out of it, because
Yes.
that's the quickest way to waste money.
And the thing that bothers me is that the ground is fertile right now for in the games industry. Not only because you have this vacuum of capital since the pandemic with all the layoffs and stuff like that, but also like on the flip side, smaller publishers like Critical Reflex or Dread XP, right? You have a lot of niche publishers that are doing good because they're finding their audience, they're finding their corner of video games that and their niche that they can publish and be successful in. And like, could you imagine if Amazon, if they started like an A24 division, right? It wouldn't call it A24, it'd be something else. Amazon indie games, I don't know, right? And all of a sudden they started publishing all these weird tiny games like Devolver does or whatever. And then you'd have an Amazon Games Day in the middle of July where you show off all the trailers and Aisha fucking Tyler comes out there and is like, "Hey everybody," like there you go. There is $1 billion idea right there that is easy. Like it's not easy, but it's much easier than how do we make an MMO in Call of Duty? How do we make this money? Like it's much more easier and sustainable than that is. And there's more ground for it. If you told me that Amazon started publishing games and started throwing money at people in a sustainable way, that there wouldn't be so much opportunity out there? Like, yes, there would. There absolutely would. Um, all you hear about right now is how there's no money. Investors are like, no, I don't want to invest in games, and it's like, well, there's companies that could. They're filled with morons. Anyway, okay. Well, this is going to relate a lot to this next story. Do you have anything else you want to say before we move on here?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Satya Nadella talked a little bit about Xbox's strategy. He went on the TBPN show, that stands for Technology Business Programming Network, and was asked about Xbox. Nadella emphasized that the best gaming is on Windows, which I thought was a disingenuous argument, but we'll get to that here in a second. I have a long quote that basically encapsulates everything he said about video games. I'm just going to read the whole thing, and then I'll go back and react to a few things, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, again, this is the TBPN show, and he was asked about the console wars, and then and Xbox more broadly, and this was his response. Quote, "We want to be a fantastic publisher, similar to the approach of what we did with Office. We're going to be everywhere, on every platform. We want to make sure, whether it's consoles, whether it's the PC, whether it's mobile, whether it's cloud gaming or the TV, so we just want to make sure games are being enjoyed by gamers everywhere. Second, we also want to do innovative work in the system side on the console and on the PC, and it's kind of funny that people think about the console PC as two different things. We built the console because we wanted to build a better PC, which could then perform for gaming, and so I kind of want to revisit some of that conventional wisdom. But at the end of the day, console has an experience that is unparalleled. It delivers performance that is unparalleled. That pushes, I think, the system forward. So I'm really looking forward to the next console, the next PC gaming. But most importantly, the games business model has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well. Because after all, gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short form form video. And so if we as an industry don't continue to innovate both how we produce, what we produce, how we think about distribution, the economic model, best way to innovate is to have good margins, because that's the way you can fund. So I watched a little bit of this interview, and it was a I don't know. It was with two guys who like wear blazers and talk about AI, like that's their profession. Wearing blazers and talking about how AI is going to change the world. And I'm sure they're nice guys, but it was very annoying. And Satya Nadella came on, and he's obviously incredibly knowledgeable about technology, about Microsoft. Like he knows way more than me when it comes to Microsoft. But it is stunning that this is his quote with gaming, because I may know more about gaming than Satya Nadella. Like when you read this
Yeah,
quote,
probably.
and some of the stuff that he says, it doesn't even make sense. So I'm gonna go through a few things here. Do you have a like from 30,000 feet up reaction to anything here?
I do. I want you to make your points first,
Okay.
and see if I can, bounce off it.
Okay, that's fine. Just jump in whenever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the first thing that I wanted to talk about was we're going to be everywhere on every platform. So he's talking about Xbox's platform agnostic approach, right? Which I have mixed feelings on as a concept. But the thing that people don't ever talk about is that games are not meant to be played on every platform, or on every, whether it's through cloud streaming or on mobile platforms, right? Like, there are, like, Squad as an example. Like, I can't imagine Squad on a phone, because it takes so much effort to, like, open your map, to read things. You use so many buttons. That is a game. So that may be an extreme example, but the medium is the message. So if you're making a game for PC, you may be doing things that are either going to translate poorly to a phone or cannot translate to a phone. So this platform agnostic approach, I think, is a nice idea, and in some instances it works really well. But in others, I think you have to address the problem that that this is not how games work. Unlike music, where you can listen to it on your phone, on your desktop, on the radio, you can listen to it everywhere, games do not work like that. Movies and TV, I think, arguably don't really work like that, right? Because, yeah, you can watch, Dune on your phone, but you're going to miss something, aren't you? Like, you're going to miss out on big movies. If you want to watch When Harry Met Sally on your phone, it's fine, right? It's an 80s
Right.
movie,
Right.
drama movie. But if you're watching some big spectacle like Dune or Blade Runner or Alien, something with a lot of atmosphere, something with a lot of cinematography, you want to put that on a TV or a
Totally. Yeah.
bigger screen, right, to get that full experience. It feels like if you're watching them on a phone, it's out of necessity, not out of necessarily choice. So that conversation, I think, is just sort of ignored a lot, because the idea that because it goes back to the idea of competing with short form video, right? So if you can put Halo Campaign Evolved on a phone and it stops some kid from watching TikTok, then you count that as a win. But I just don't think that scenario is going to play out as much as they think it's going to play out. As much as just that kid hopping on a console, if you just focused on a console or PC, would play out, right? Go ahead.
And short form content, like it doesn't need to be said that they're completely different forms of entertainment. Short form content is in the name. I do it when I'm standing in line waiting for my food. Like I do it when
Yes.
when I'm in between loading screens on a game. It is not something. Sure, there are people who can consume it for long periods of time, but they're plain and simply like plain and simply, if I'm going to play a video game, I'm going to go play a video game.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm going to make the time to do that. I think that one thing that happens with these guys in general who lead Microsoft or Amazon or whatnot is that there's that they're not in touch with like what the average person does, and that's why like I kind of enjoy what I do so much, because I'm exactly in tune with what everyone does. Customers, when they come into my store, they tell me what they want. And sure, that may like cause like some friction when it's like, and I know you might get upset by this too, but like if I give like a normal, if I give somebody God of War on PS2 and it's a greatest hits case, but I give them a normal disc, they don't give a shit. They don't care because it's the same game.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same game on the thing. There are times where like one or two people may be like, "Hey, can I get the other disc?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." But the vast majority of people have told me that they don't care. So I'm going to give them that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
console, particularly, and I know I'm getting into another point here, and I'm kind of like injecting myself into into your points, but um, he says that it's kind of funny that people think about the console and PC as two different things. They don't. Uh, they think of them as sorry, they do think of them as two different things, but they think of them as two different things in a sense that they make sure not to consoles are popular because people don't have to deal with PCs.
Exactly. Yes. And
It,
even
it's
still
it's
today, yeah.
yeah, yeah, even still today, and even I can't get over that. I do play games on my PC. I have a Steam Deck, but I want to come home, press my power button, and then get to gaming. I don't
Yes.
want to move my mouse around. I don't want to load up Steam. I don't want to wait for my computer to like get going. I can absolutely, but a large majority of people either don't want to do that, or, and this is embarrassing enough, they don't know how, and they're not going to bother learning how to do it either.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's the point of consoles.
and that's
And
the point of
yes,
console. Yes.
consoles are getting more complicated, and you can't just plug and play now because you have updates and you have to install games and et cetera, et
But
cetera.
sure,
So
sure. But even still, when you put a disc in, it's gonna automatically go to your game and be like, "Oh yeah, this is why you put the thing in, right?
yes,
Like
it is
this
a
is what's
more
gonna."
streamlined environment than a PC, even considering all those things.
Yeah,
Consoles aren't suddenly going to have you're not going to have to deal with the operating system or the BIOS, or if you install new memory into your console, you're not going to start blue screening or whatever it is now because the memory isn't compatible with your motherboard or some bullshit like that, right? All that stuff you have to deal with in PC gaming. Now, PC gaming has become more accessible with online tutorials and pre-built stuff and whatnot. So I think there's definitely more people that are playing PC games today than there were 15 years ago when I was a kid and I had like a Frankenstein's monster PC. But
yeah, 100%.
yeah, but that one quote confused me because I wasn't sure what he meant. It sounds like he's talking about the next Xbox because we keep hearing about this idea that the next Xbox is going to be like closer to a PC than a console, which okay, but again, I just don't see the point of that. Like they're two different markets. I why I don't, and also he says that that the console has an experience that is unparalleled. That's just not true. I mean, you're gonna get better performance on a PC usually, right? Unless your game has UE5, then probably not. But that's a joke. But the hardware is always gonna the PC is always gonna have that advantage. Um, I think a lot of the reasons that we see bad optimization on PC has nothing to do with the platform itself. I think it just has to do with the funding and the resources that are put toward optimization, right? So that's more complicated. But I think in terms of just which one is more powerful in the abstract, it's clearly PCs. But again, if you're making the argument that consoles are more streamlined and easier to deal with, yes, but that's a separate argument. Um,
Right, right.
yeah, so you said a few things that I wanted to hit on. The other thing is I think we have to this idea that you're competing with short form video I hate because it's like if if you are watching TikTok 5 hours a day, then fine, go do that. But like why try and capture that person? I know why, because they want endless growth. But I think that's just a dumb goal, right? You already have a market. You already have people that want to play video games. Build for them. Don't worry about anybody else. Build for the people that are playing games, and you'll be fine. That's a sustainable market. Set your budget according to that. Those are the economics you should deal with. You should not deal with trying to figure out how to stop people from going on Instagram and TikTok, right? Which, by the way, are already like weird psychological tics, right? It's not like people plan out their day and are like, okay, between 3 and 4 o'clock, I'm going to go on TikTok. No, it's just a thing that people do. It's habitual. Might as well be breathing and blinking and other bodily functions, right? It's just like it's a form of entertainment, yes, but to compare it to video games and say you're competing with it, that is a statement. That is like a political statement. You want to compete with TikTok. You don't have to. You have to say that that's the goal of your games division because that is what you have decided is the goal, not because you have no other choice but to do that. And that bothers the shit out of me because things could be so much better if you just focus on the market that you already have instead of this other market that you're trying to grow, which may not grow and may not be worth growing. I had to take a drink. The other thing you said that you mentioned, I forget the exact words, but I have said this for a long time, facetiously, that no one plays video games. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Because obviously lots of people play video games. But it's like people like Nadella and the podcast hosts here, because I think clearly they didn't have any follow-up questions, I don't think. But they just seem to go along with what Nadella said. Because I don't think they're gaming guys, they're tech guys, which there is a massive distinction.
Yes, very much.
So people like Nadella and the podcast hosts, they don't have a frame of reference to understand video games. Like I just don't think they do. They may understand the business. They may be able to look at a spreadsheet and see the numbers of the business, but I don't think they understand the business from like a they don't understand the medium. They don't understand the thing that they're actually dealing with. It's like somebody being able to sell cars but have no idea what driving a car feels like, or why people like fast cars, or why people like comfy seats. They have no idea anything with a car. They've never been inside of a car, but they are in charge of a dealership that sells cars, so they know the economics of it lightly. And they think they know demand because they see the cars that get sold, and then that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, well, this must be the thing that people want, right? But that's not necessarily true. So it's like their frame of reference is completely outside of any reality of them actually like playing games, right? And this frame of reference extends inward because you have people that play Madden and Call of Duty, and their frame of reference is different from people like us that play a shit ton of games and have like, and that's fine. It's not bad. Being a casual gamer is fine, right? Being a casual watcher of sports is fine. You know, I casually watch the NHL. But the difference is I'm not making business decisions for the NHL. I don't own a team and then I'm setting the future of a franchise based off of a faulty frame of reference, right? So I think that's important to point out and I keep seeing this. This is like different from other things. I don't know. People just don't play video games. People in tech, people in industry analysts. It's just when they talk about gaming studios, it just feels like they lack a certain frame of reference. So I always think this. People just don't play video games. Because if they did, their frame of reference would be different. Or
Yep.
you at least, you would hope it would be. That's not always the case. John Riccatello is famous for playing games, and he's an asshole. So, what are you gonna, what are you gonna do? Is there anything else you would like to say about this?
No, just another group of people out of touch, thinking they know exactly
Yes.
what we want, and I think the only reason, like, he can spout off all he wants, but I think Nadella is just going, we're on every PC. Why don't we just move everything to that?
Yes.
And I really don't think he cares about the Xbox brand. I think there are people who care about the Xbox brand. I still
Yes.
think, regardless of how things have been going the last 2, 3 years, I still believe that Phil Spencer believes in the Xbox brand, and I
Yeah.
still think he wants to do what he wants with it. But I think Nadella is making the shots now. Um,
Yeah, and Amy Hood did that. We talked last week. I don't remember. Were you here last week? I don't remember. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Amy Hood had that she made that like 30% return number that was the goal for the Xbox division or whatever. So Microsoft clearly, I think, it doesn't seem like they are committed to it. They say they are, and they make moves that look like they are, but at the same time, they do things where it's like it kind of feels like they want to rush to see if this is a thing or not so they can get rid of it. Um, so yeah, it's mixed signals and it's frustrating because again, this is another company that has all the tools to do this stuff. It's just they don't have the willingness. That thing about it was funny that Nadella emphasized Windows at the beginning of the interview because it's like, yeah, sure. Yes, Valve is on Windows. I mean, it's also on Linux and Mac, but like, yeah, sure, Valve is on Windows, but just because Valve runs on Windows does not mean Microsoft can take the credit for anything Valve has done. You know, like, come on. Like, yeah, no one is saying, oh, Ferraris are only good because roads are made out of asphalt. No. You know, like, that's not why a Ferrari kicks ass, right? So it's like, and you know what, Microsoft, you have had years to come up with a solution to compete with Steam, and you have never been able to do it because you're too busy wiping your shareholders' bottoms and changing their diapers, and you don't have the wherewithal or the frame of reference. Or the awareness to do anything games related. Games for Windows Live sucked. Everything else has sucked. Game Pass was fine for a long time. Now it's been shitified, and it's getting worse. So it's like, you know, you've had you've had your opportunities. You're one of the biggest companies in the world. If Microsoft and Windows disappeared, humanity may well follow. So it's like you're extremely powerful. You've had your chances, but don't sit here and try and like I don't know to make this disingenuous claim that you can sort of point at Steam and say, "Hey, it's running on a Windows," because Steam has been built. Like the innovation Steam has done have pushed Microsoft to do things, not the other way around. Okay, one more. You ready to move on to one more story?
Yeah, let's do it.
Take-Two is accused of union busting. This is again first reported by Jason Schreier. In a statement, the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain said about 30 to 40 employees were cut across the UK and Canada. I'm just going to read the statement. Quote, over 30 members of UK staff at Rockstar Games were fired on Thursday, the 30th of October, due to trade union activity. The staff, who were all part of a private trade union Discord channel and members of the IWGB, were dismissed in what the union argues constitutes unlawful and retaliatory dismissals. Organizers at the IWGB have reported that amongst the staff dismissed were those with visas sponsored by Rockstar and those with medical conditions who will lose access to essential workplace healthcare schemes. Take-Two denied the allegations, saying the employees were fired for gross misconduct. I did not see if they specified what the gross misconduct was, but obviously that even if it's true, that's not something I think they may be able to do. So yeah, I'm not sure I believe Take-Two here.
No, absolutely not. I think honestly, I think Take Two is one of the actually, you know what? Gosh, there are not many publishers left in the gaming landscape. I'm like thinking of a bunch, but Take Two absolutely is consistently lying through their teeth, but they hide it well. If that makes sense.
Yes, it
Does
does.
that make sense?
Yes, yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah,
And I think they're doing just as much shit as Ubisoft is doing, as
sure.
Activision is
I'm
doing.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, they're hiding it very well, and this is just part of it. I have no doubts in my mind that they've been busting unions left and right.
And yeah, so I don't necessarily believe this. I still think unions are important, just because how else are you going to fix the industry? Uh, Strauss Zelnick, sure as shit, ain't gonna step up and try and fix the industry, you know.
No, sir.
So it's like this is you got to unionize in solidarity, and you gotta like I think that's the only and best way to do things, even if it's not necessarily the most helpful. Um, because what else are you going to do at this point? And it's taken off in the years that we've been doing this show. All of a sudden, I remember we were talking about unions, like, is this a thing that could happen? And now it's like it's kind of all over the place, and people are really talking about it. It's like a common thing now. So, yeah. You know, it's interesting. I'm curious. Where would Take Two be if it weren't for Rockstar? Like,
Yeah.
if it weren't for Rockstar, Take Two would have basketball, Borderlands, I can't think. There's another. There's got to be a few other big titles that I just can't think of at the moment.
They used to have the MLB.
And then yeah, the show or not the
They have
show.
they have they have all the other sports. They have PGA.
Okay, wait, do they? Is that
Yeah, they have PGA
okay?
golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then yeah, they used to have BioShock, and they still do, but who knows when that's going to release. So yeah, so it's like oh, and they bought Zynga, the mobile company, a few years back.
Right.
But I don't, as far as I know, I don't know if that is the meeting of the expectations they wanted it to meet. I don't know. But yeah, like if it weren't for Rockstar, where would Take Two be? I think that's an interesting question, and I think Take Two. I don't know the economics here, so this may be very ignorant of me to say, but it feels like Take Two needs Rockstar a lot more than Rockstar needs Take Two. Um, because Rockstar could be CD Projekt Red, right? Like they could be a company that isn't owned. Well, I don't think CD Projekt Red may have investors, but I don't know if they are owned by anybody outright. I don't think they are. So like, could Rockstar do that? And I am assuming, yeah. So anyway, that was just a thought that I had, because this is like a everybody's just GTA 6 is going to be the biggest thing in the world and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Strauss Zelnick didn't make Red Dead 2. Strauss Zelnick didn't make Red Dead Redemption. He didn't make GTA 5. That was Rockstar. And the talent and the creativity there and the imagination there. Yeah, so whatever. I hope I hope those people can find jobs somewhere, and yeah, if I were a reporter, I would reach out to these people and be like, hey, they say you were doing fired for gross misconduct. What kind of gross misconduct were you doing? Because if they weren't, that's a massive story right there. But who knows if we'll ever find out. Okay, is there anything else you would like to say about this?
No, not about this.
Is there anything else you would like to say at all? Do you have any opinions at all?
No opinions, but I do want to talk about. Did you hear about all the Kojima and Wachowski stuff
Yeah,
happening?
I saw that they approached him for a video game and he kind of wanted to, but Konami said no, or did he say no? I don't remember who.
So yeah, there was somebody mentioned it. I forgot who, and then like a bunch of like places published it. Like, oh, Wachowski's asked Kojima to make a game, but Konami said no and whatnot. Kojima himself was like, "Yeah, this story's floating around. I have no idea what they're talking about."
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
like
Okay.
Kojima literally just came out was like, "Yeah, if they talked about anything, I have no clue about it." So, going deeper into it, he like mentioned who talked to who. Like the Wachowskis did come to Konami and like did a tour and stuff like that. So maybe there was something talked about in those talks, but Kojima didn't hear anything about like Wachowski's never asked Kojima to make a Matrix game.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
But that's how all of the reports were framed. Like the Wachowskis
Yeah.
specifically asked Kojima to make a game,
Yeah.
but they never did because he was already knee deep in Metal Gear Solid 2
Yeah.
by the time like
MGS2.
they
Yeah.
asked. However, there is a ton of Matrix influence on Twin Snakes, the GameCube remake.
Ah,
So
man, I need to play Twin. How difficult is it to emulate GameCube stuff?
not very at all.
Okay, I'm not going to emulate, of course. I'm going to buy all these copies of games.
Absolutely, you're gonna pay
That's right.
$70+ for Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes
That's right. I'm going to own
on
it
GameCube.
as
Yep.
as is required by
On
law.
GameCube, otherwise known as the Dolphin, as their
Yes.
developer console name. That's why DOL is the code for GameCube stuff.
We're gonna get sued, or I'm gonna get shot by a Nintendo sniper somewhere who's hovering or like hanging from a helicopter right now with like a thermal scope, and he's like, "Target acquired. I just took out the fucking Pow World guys. Now I got this podcaster in my sights."
But it's just like Otani throwing a Pokeball like straight at your head.
Oh my god, he would be able to do that, man.
He would.
Shohei Otani. I'm sorry, this is completely
No,
like
we're going
nothing.
baseball now.
Shohei Otani, like his batting stance makes me laugh because It just looks like it. His batting stance looks like someone getting into a batting stance for the first time. Like it's so
Hmm.
like rigid and his arms are out there. But of course he's a generational hitter, and if he'll accident like if he accidentally hits the ball, it's gonna exit the park and go to the parking lot and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I don't know. He just looks like a funny guy. Just the way he gets into the box. There are a few guys that have really funny. Jorge Posada. If you look up Jorge Posada for the Yankees back in the day, he always
Yep.
looked terrified in the batter's box. I don't know why. Jose Bautista looked like he wanted to kill you. He looked like the guy from Bridesmaids, or not Bridesmaids. A Bride's Tale. What is that movie called? Why can't I think of it? Inigo Montoya. He looked like that guy.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, yeah, he looked like Inigo Montoya. Or he's like, you kill my father, prepare to die. That's what
Yeah,
Jose
they're prepared to
Bautista looked
die.
like. But anyway, um, I didn't care who won that because I hate both the Dodgers and the Blue Rays. So the way I rationalized it was one of those fan bases was going to be sad, and so I was just going to bask in that Schadenfreude. But
Oh yeah, yeah, and well, it kind of sucks it went out the way it did, but yeah, that was a very good a very good series.
yeah, and painful for the Blue Jays as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, follow us youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. I'll have an update this week on the current project. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to writing sometime this week. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Good night.